The Young Thug Rico trial is now starting to heat up, as the trial began today with Young Thug whispering "I love you" to Mariah the scientist as she supports him throughout his trial, as this is Young Thug's way of showing appreciation to his girlfriend Mariah for what she said recently on a podcast, where she would speak on Young Thug's release in their special plans.
Do you think that marriage is the next step for you, Young Thug?
I mean, when he gets out of jail?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think either of us want a jail wedding. Yeah, but I feel like he definitely wants to be married, and I feel like I do too.
Do you ever imagine life outside once he's out?
For sure. We talk about it all day. All day long. I mean, I feel like being imaginative can help every human being on earth not lose your mind. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, it is like a little slight state of delusion.
However, what happened next during trial made many realize that no one is taking this trial serious in the courtroom, as it would be announced at the end of Young Thug's trial today. Judge Glanville let the jury know there is no such thing as a free lunch unless they're deliberating.
Long shot, but say again?
I know it's like a long shot, but can we get like lunch maybe once every 2 weeks or so? I mean,
you got a lot of nerve, man. I'm trying to ask me for lunch.
That's why you can be part of the jury.
For you to ask those questions? Okay, all right. No, we don't provide lunches. The county's got bad credit, so we used to be able to.
As the judge is just about done with this case, as he has mentioned the word mistrial now countless times throughout this trial, and it's all because of the prosecutors. As today in the trial, the judge even had to ask the prosecutors to stay out of his business.
Is there anything else at this point in time?
Your Honor, did juror number 39...
Yo, would you stay out of my business, Miss Love?
Oh, well.
Stay out of my business.
Judge,
look,
I'm sorry.
I've been doing this a long time. Yes, I have, yes. And if you really must know, she's going to reschedule her appointment to the week of the King holiday. You happy? No, you're not happy. But anyways, that's the explanation you're going to get. I'm on top of it. Okay. All right. Yes, Mr. Sharp.
As even just yesterday in opening arguments, it would be announced Judge in Young Thug trial isn't happy with the state because they never turned in all of the slides they planned on using in their opening statement.
Is there anything else you're going to use in opening you haven't shown to defense counsel? He's telling us. Well, I said that. I told you to do that a week ago. Because here's what I told you was going to happen. I've got a jury that's out right now that's being interrupted. And Mr. Williams, you should have made your motion or should have told me about that an hour ago or when you found out about it. Not hijack me at the bench about that. You did what you had to do, but I'm not happy about that. I'm not happy about any of this. Because this is stuff we could take care of before our jury comes in. And that makes you all, lessen your ability as advocates and lessen our ability for this jury to go ahead and get this case seamlessly. This is what I told you all was going to happen. So,
as the judge has already stated in the start of the clip, he already told the prosecutors to have all of their evidence they want to use against Thug ready, have all of their slides for the opening day, and they didn't.
Your Honor, we would ask because we would ask that all of this be reserved for the 16th because this all came up in September. You said you allowed us to.
I am really annoyed about this, Ms. Fulton. I just am. This is ridiculous. Your witness list has grown by 2/3 since then. And I don't know why. You better have a dang good explanation on the 16th, because if you don't, I'm going to exclude it. Okay. But right now I'm telling you, without anything further, it's gone.
Well, we would like to
exclude a lot more on that date because this is ridiculous. There is no plausible explanation I've gotten and that would suffice that we just kind of keep, you keep dripping and driving out evidence.
As the prosecutors are trying to do sneaky things in Young Thug's trial, like having 200 plus witnesses come to the case trial and all share crimes that Young Thug allegedly committed, all while not sharing the names of these witnesses or even what crimes they saw, as this has been stressing out the judge so bad to the point that he had to bring in a service dog just to calm him down.
Right here behind me is this bell that starts jingling, all right? And if you hear a jingling sound like a bell, Please don't think that I'm doing anything creepy up here, all right? I have a service dog behind me. His name is Jack. I think some of you may have seen him already. He lives the best life ever. He's pampered. He's really, and he is a Labrador Retriever. He's about almost 2.5, 3 years old at this point in time. So, but if you hear that bell, that's him moving around, all right? He doesn't bark. He rarely gets interested in what's going on, so he might come up here and look, but that's about it, all right? Don't bring him any food either, okay? All right? He is spoiled rotten. So please don't try and throw any food back here behind me or anything like that. He doesn't need anything else, okay? But if you hear that bell, hear that sound.
As all of this is now leading into Thug's lawyers pushing for a mistrial, which made young Thug look extremely emotional and happy inside of the courtroom. But to understand his release date from a mistrial, we first need to investigate the report of a juror has been dismissed in the young Thug YSL Rico trial and is being replaced with an alternate after being hospitalized over the weekend.
I'm in receipt of the admission form, and as of current, she is still in the hospital. Her anticipated release date potentially is this coming Wednesday. So, much as I like to wait till Wednesday, I'm going to probably have to go ahead and excuse her due to illness. So, does anybody wish to be heard about that issue?
Your Honor, before we do that, can I just figure out who 269 is?
All right, and I'll let you take a look at I'm going to mark this as the next court exhibit in order, as well as I'm going to seal it for purposes of juror confidentiality.
As this Rico trial is having major issues with its jurors, and they're almost going to run out, as this is most likely going to result in a mistrial, as even DJ Akademiks would report, members of the jury were shown on live stream, and people believe this is why the judge called the attorneys to his chambers for a potential mistrial. As reports would then come out from No Jumper, fans are already identifying jury members on the Thug trial after the courtroom camera accidentally revealed their faces. As a commenter would say, "I know that guy with the glasses on, that's Dante Wilson. He is on the jury." As his comment would then be liked by DJ Akademiks, giving more publicity to it, as that juror would have to be removed from Young Thug's trial due to safety concerns with how serious of a case this is. So now with that juror being excused, as well as the one in the hospital, there is a chance this case runs out of jurors. However, to understand the Young Thug release date, we need to dive deep into how bad the prosecutors truly are, as the prosecutors are having a hard time even asking their own witnesses on the stand a simple question.
As it relates to a musical artist's words, is there any crime in saying words?
There are certainly potentially crimes in spoken words.
All right. Now, I'm not talking about crimes being described in words. I'm speaking of, is there a crime to speak the words?
As a generality, no. Outside of...
Your Honor.
Yes.
The answer to the question. And
So it's not responsive, is that what you're saying? Okay, I'll sustain this and not responsive.
have you ever sought to arrest anyone for speaking words in a song?
No, ma'am.
But it's when the prosecutors would bring this one witness to the stand, who is Melissa Rozier. As a report would go and read, in Thug's Rico trial, Melissa Rozier is a house mom at the Pony South Club outside of Atlanta. She's testifying about getting carjacked on her way home from work, as she would break down how the crime started with her driving home until she ran into a YSL member.
Stopped at the stop sign and I felt someone hit me. I looked up and saw a car. I didn't want to block the entrance, so I pulled on to the right, which is the direction I would have taken to go home anyway. So I turned to the right, stopped, got out of my car, turned it off. I left my keys and everything in my car. The subdivision in which I was living at the time, a lot of Delta people worked there. People were coming and going all hours of the day and night. I mean, women would be pushing babies in strollers 5:30 in the morning out running. So I thought nothing of it. I got out and turned the car off, left the door open, everything in the car. I walked towards the back of the car. A young man got out of his car. I greeted him. He greeted me. I looked down at the bumper and saw no damage. And I really, at that point, was going to look up and say, honey, I'm tired, I'm going home, you go home.
As she would explain that this entire situation began with an opposing vehicle gently hitting her car, where she would then get out of her vehicle to see the damage when everything would turn seriously bad.
And as I looked up, I saw someone in his car rising up, and he was running around me. I guess my mind knew something was about to happen, something that wasn't good, but it happened so fast. He got in my car, and because of the backpack, my mind just focused on the backpack. I opened the back left passenger's door, thinking I could reach into the front seat and get the backpack, and the backpack, because it had my daddy's CD in it and my camera. So I reached in to get that, and I guess instinct, I don't know, God said just let it go. So I stepped back and actually shut the door myself. And he drove off. At that point, I think the other car had already gone.
As this crime occurred 10 years ago in 2013, the state would then ask her if she knew a Trontavia Stevens, aka Slug, the co-founder of YSL, who took a plea deal in December of 2022. She said that she doesn't remember his name at all, making her testimony a little strange. So the state would then call the police officer that was in charge of investigating the crime a decade ago. He provided little to no evidence at all, which would then result in him making up lies on the stand against Young Thug, which is highly illegal. As in trial, he would claim that Young Thug and YSL members were teasing him as he couldn't solve the case, so they threw up hand signs at him.
I observed them come out of the building with their attention already focused on the vehicle that I was driving, myself and my partner.
Okay.
And then they immediately began throwing signs and yelling at us.
Had you done anything to that group of gentlemen before they came out, focusing on you and your partner, throwing signs and yelling at you?
No, ma'am.
As moments after it would be reported, Young Thug's lawyers are going to work. Atlanta officer is getting cross-examined after accusing Young Thug of flashing hand signs at him. Thug's lawyers are wondering why this wasn't mentioned in his original report.
When you testified a little while ago for the state, and they asked you a couple questions about this, you said they were flashing signs, right?
Correct.
Right. Now, you didn't say that in your report, though, did you?
No.
And I mean, you wrote a 2-page report, and it was very detailed about everything that happened and everyone who was involved, down to names and dates of births, right?
Right.
You even put a serial number in there, right?
Yes.
And you're trained as a police officer that anything that is of significance, like if you think, for example, something is related, you put that in the report, right?
Right.
But that report, the same one that she had you read, right, because you can remember some stuff, in that third paragraph where it talks about what you saw those people doing, you ain't say nothing about, I saw the signs, right?
Correct.
As huge social media accounts would begin posting that an officer was lying against Young Thug, stating, "Dog, the defense in Young Thug trial is going off on the state for lying, saying that he saw hand signs being thrown at him." Even sources inside of the courtroom were mentioning that Young Thug began laughing so hard he started crying. It really seemed as if the only good evidence that the prosecutors truly have currently against Thug is that they revealed that whenever YSL members in the free world got into issues in the streets, instead of calling Young Thug to tell him the issue, they would have to call Young Thug's sister, who would then relay the problem to Young Thug.
You will hear evidence that when members and associates of YSL got in trouble, got locked up, the first person they called was either this defendant or one of his family members. Now, they didn't call him directly because he knew and they knew that he needed to have distance between himself and the crimes members and associates of YSL were committing on behalf of. So they would reach out to his sister and have his sister reach out to somebody else and eventually get back to King Slime, as they call him.